Have you ever bought a lottery ticket before?
I have. I wouldn't. So I have bought lottery tickets before, but it was like right as I turned 18, and it was more so like like when you go out on your 21st birthday, and it's like that rite of passage kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you're like, I just want to experience it like once just to see like what it's like. Um, Other than that, no, I've never. I bought lottery tickets for like clients, like I bought like a stack of them, and I'll put like a lottery ticket in like a birthday card. And
That's a good idea. I like
like
that.
so like I do that for their birthday cards and such. But like I don't buy them for myself at all. I have gotten lucky a couple times, but nothing big.
How would you feel if you bought a lottery ticket for somebody and then they won the Mega Millions and you knew like you had a role to play in that? Like they won, let's say it's something stupid, like $500 million. And you never hear from them, never see them again, but you knew you bought that winning lottery ticket, but someone else got $500 million.
If it's a client, just say like let's just say it's a client. I would hope that that client would use me to buy the most expensive house that they could ever want. So that way then I could get that commission. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I don't have the $500 million, but you bought a 15 or $20 million house. So I'm satisfied. Like I made all this money, like I can invest like a large sum of it, and who knows, maybe I can make my own $500 million.
Have you ever heard those like stories of the old saying of how lottery winners, it's like 90 something percent of them all end up going broke or bankrupt because of it. They don't know how to manage the money correctly enough. And it's, from what I've always read, it's they always buy like a massive mansion, not realizing that the bigger the property, the more expensive it is to maintain that property, whether it be simple things such as just property maintenance on the building, the yard, property taxes, HOA fees, all these sorts of things. When you buy like a $20 million home, you're going to be paying $1 million a year just to maintain that home.
Yeah, and it's funny though because there was actually a story. I think it was like 6-7 years ago. This guy or his wife won the lottery and then divorced him and then went completely broke after soon after. I think that this is the story I'm thinking of, but she went broke after that. Like she spent all the money, and then I think she tried to reconcile, but he was like, "Nah, I'm good. Like I don't like I already know what you're about, so it's like I don't want to get back with you," kind of thing. But there's been a lot of stories, and they make news headlines about that because people will win all this money and spend it all and then go broke. And I'm like, why is it that like big a deal that you have to burn that money in your pocket? Like I get maybe taking a vacation, going somewhere that you've never been before. Like I get that kind of stuff, but like buying frivolous stuff and things that won't matter, then like that's where like I'm kind of like, why? Like why do you spend all that money on all that random stuff?
Man, I kind of want to look up that story to see what happened there, because that's wild to know. Like, okay, you win X or 2X million dollars, you divorce whoever you have, or like you just part ways with them, and then you burn it all, and you come crawling right back. It's like the story. It's like the parable of the prodigal son. But
Right.
oh my gosh, are you
Actually,
looking that up right now?
yeah, no, so I think if this is the one that I think I have right here. Ex-wife, actually, no, this is what happened. Ex-wife loses lottery money after hiding $1.9 million win during divorce proceedings.
Oh wow, so she was hiding it from her
Yeah,
husband.
so this happened actually this happened last year, I think. Oh no, this article came out last year, but it happened in 1996. A U.S. woman had to hand over a $1.9 million, which would be US or 1.3 million. So wait, what's the A stand for? I don't know what that abbreviation says. Well, anyways, lottery went to her ex-husband because she concealed the money when she filed for a divorce, a California court heard. Denise and Thomas Rossi were married for 25 years, and Thomas believed the couple were inseparable, stating in court papers they even shared an electric toothbrush. So when Denise filed for divorce in 1996, Thomas said that he was blindsided, although Denise said in court document she'd be unhappy in her marriage for years and Thomas was always broke. Obviously, 2 years after their separation, a misdirected letter arrived at Thomas's apartment for his ex-wife from a company that awarded lottery winners, and he was shocked to find out Denise's secret. California State Lottery Commission confirmed that Rossi's ex-wife had won U.S. $1.3 million 11 days before she filed for divorce, and that money was payable in 20 annual installments of about $70,000, give or take. He filed an injunction. She did not disclose those, and then they ruled 3 years later that Denise had violated state asset disclosure laws by keeping the money a secret, and the judge says she had acted out of fraud and malice, and the judge awarded all the lottery winnings to the husband, and the wife got nothing.
Wow. So she lost it because she didn't disclose it.
And a lot of states have that law. I think so. It's funny though, because Texas is like, we're like the trial state, and I don't know where a lot of laws start from, but I think a majority of laws typically start in Texas, and a lot of other states adopt a lot of the laws that we have, obviously come up with. Again, I don't know if this law actually started in Texas, but yeah, so you have to do, like, when you're divorcing someone in some states, if not all, you have to disclose, like, any and all, like, let's just say, heaven forbid, me and Dana got divorced. Something
Don't say
like
such
that
things. Never say that.
No, don't say such things. But I'm just saying, you would have those instances where I would have to disclose if I had earned some sort of large amount of money to her. Granted, that's never going to happen. But as far as the divorce thing, the money thing, you never know. Anything's possible. But yeah, there are a lot of states that you have to do that, though. Like, they require you to disclose any amount of money that you win, any amount of money that you have, like, hidden away, any assets, whatever the case may be. You have to disclose any of it if it wasn't disclosed before.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm also thinking if that was $1.3 million in 1996, if you adjust for inflation, that's probably, what, $40 billion now? I think if you adjust it correctly.
Let's see. We can look up an inflation calculator.
Ooh, those are always fun. Makes you feel a little bit depressed.
Right.
If you go back far enough, $1 is basically like $1 million today.
Right. Okay, so, and let's see, what was the year that it happened in?
96?
96?
Yeah. It's probably...
Let's just say January of 96.
Yeah.
We'll just go May of 24. No date available for the month and year selected. Wait, please select a different combination. Wait, what? Okay, let me try then. Okay, well, I had to do March. That's actually not as much as what I thought. That amount of money has the same buying power as $2,702,561.
Also, I mean, it went up, what, 400K? Oh, wait, no, sorry. What was the original number? Was it 1.3?
Yeah, well, so it went up 1.4, give or take. So it was over a 50% increase.
What was the number you said was today? So it was 1.3 in 96 versus today?
2.7.
Whoa, okay. That's crazy. That is crazy. That
it surprises me a bit because I thought it'd be more.
Maybe, yeah, but just knowing, because that's always a big fear is, like, you're always told to, like, save money, but if you don't have that money working for you in some way, that money is literally just losing in value. Like, if you don't have, like, if you're not gaining interest on, like, in a savings account or something like that, like a high yield interest savings account, if you're not having it parked there or parked in stocks or index funds or mutual funds or whatever, like, you're just losing money. Yeah. Just to know, like, if you were awarded 1.3 million then, like, if you didn't have it working for you, it's just going to lose so much value.
See, like, we're trying to get, like, obviously start investing, but it's a scary thing because it's like high risk, high reward kind of thing. So it's like, we would have to put a huge lump sum, and if it doesn't do well, then we just lost all that money. We'd have to make sure that whoever is keeping our money accountable, handling our account, everything like that, is doing what they need to do to, make sure our money is producing money, because if it's not producing, then it's like, what are we doing? And so right now we don't really have a lot of saving stuff, like, going, like, that's the goal before I turn 30 is to, like, start getting some high yield accounts, some Roth IRAs, things like that going, so we can at least have some sort of retirement. or something planned up. But right now, like, I don't know enough about it on my own to do it. So obviously, it's I have to rely on financial planners, but every financial planner is different. And all I need to know is like, look, what's the minimum I can pay for a year that I can invest in 2 separate Roth IRA accounts? Like, I need the minimum, and give me what it will yield in like 35 to 40 years when I can actually start utilizing that money.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, no, I know what you mean. You're like, I just want solid advice that I can trust to make it happen. Because there's so much, when it comes to money advice, there's just so much out there, and so much of it is just not good.
yeah.
Just not good at all.
Yeah.
Man,
I can tell you who I wouldn't trust with my money, though. The government.
The federal government. That is something I would not trust. Another entity I would be questionable about giving my money to trust them with it, Dave & Buster's. So one thing I saw earlier this week, I know I kind of hinted at to you when we talked before hitting record today, but have you seen in the news how Dave & Buster's, like the adult Chuck E. Cheese basically, is going to soon let their patrons and guests make small wagers and bets on the games you can play at Dave & Buster's. So like, easy example, skee ball or like the basketball shooting contest thing. Like if you and I are playing it, we could each wager, $10 and we could bet each other to see who would win. And, if I win, I get the money. If you win, you get the money. I don't know. I've been trying to read into it. Maybe there'd be even like a third party, like a third guest that would be able to wager on the game.
Like outside bets and stuff. Well, that's the thing though, is like, how does that get around Texas or like just state law? Like,
I was wondering that because it actually, like, as of the last couple of days, so this news broke about a week ago, less than a week ago. It's only May 5th as of recording this, and the news came out April 30th. But there have been a couple of lawmakers in various states that have come out since then, because you have to now ask the question, does that make Dave & Buster's a casino? And, usually states regulate casinos or don't have them in general due to regulation. Like in Texas, we don't have casinos. Like, we don't have our own version of Vegas. I think it'd be hype if we did, but we don't. So
like mini Vegas.
Well, that's the thing. Okay, to go on a tangent here.
No, you're good.
Like, I don't understand why Texas doesn't create like a special district. Let's just say, like, my idea would be, do you know where San Angelo is? Kind of like halfway to West Texas. Yeah. It's like out there.
Yeah.
That's such a open part of the state that I don't think is really being utilized outside of maybe like oil drilling, but there's a lot of vast open expanse out there. Las Vegas is in a desert, so we can just recreate that same concept, create a special district out in West Texas that is our own mini Las Vegas. We already know there's so many business tycoons in the Southwest, not even just Texas alone, but just this region, that would probably be willing to come in and put their stamp on a new version of Vegas and just do it better.
So hear me out, okay? And for anyone who's listening, if you're a multi-millionaire tycoon or a billionaire tycoon, listen up, okay? So we're going to develop a business plan, all right, immediately after this podcast episode is recorded and done, okay? And we're going to design that. We're going to take it before the state and say, hey, look, all right, there's all this land out here that's not utilized for anything. There's no oil that's being drilled out of this specific area. We have all this land out here that's, I'm pretty sure, owned by the state. It's not owned by anybody. Let's turn it into a mini Vegas, all right? And you can only gamble in that in that area unless you're Dave & Buster's, obviously. But you can come there and you can gamble. And obviously there will be stricter laws than Las Vegas, but like you can't, walk around and find things going on, everything, all this other kind of stuff. But like mostly casinos and sports bettings and things like that, you can go there and you can actually do that. Because realistically speaking, I mean, you're not wrong. Like if you go out to West Texas, there's nothing out there. Like all you have is bars and, other extracurricular activities that you can do in that area.
Just food, alcohol, and meth. Like that's all there is.
Yeah. So why not just build a place that people can drive an hour and a half or a couple hours to, unless of course you live in the DFW, then you're driving like 3 hours. But it could also be like a fun vacation, like if you want to go somewhere in Texas, like they'll have hotels, they'll have all this other stuff that's out there that you can go and do, not just casinos and gambling. But think about it, like that would actually be pretty cool.
Yeah. I think it's a no-brainer. Like, I don't know if you remember hearing not too long ago, I think it was the tail end of 2023, Mark Cuban sold his majority stake in the Mavericks. So, like, he's not, like, the majority. Like, the sale is still pending, I believe. Like, it's going to happen. But
I did see that.
Yeah, he, like, sold his shares in the Mavericks to, I forget his name, I can Google it, but it's the family that owns the Las Vegas Sands, like the Sands Casino and Resort, like that brand.
Oh, yeah.
Because he wants to bring gambling to Dallas. He wants to make Dallas like a casino area, because he also wants to create a new arena for the Mavericks. He wants to move out of the American Airlines Center and create like this new casino / basketball thing, because the NBA is also really big on gambling as well. They're like the first, or they're the most open, like, professional sporting league to really adopt like in-game gambling. Like, if you're at an arena, you can go bet on things if the state allows it, of course. I know it's different markets, different strokes for different folks, but
yeah. Well, my question would be though, is like, where would you build another basketball stadium at though? Like, if you drive around the American Airlines Center, like there's not exactly a lot of space over there. Like, and I mean, obviously they'll find it because it's real estate, so they'll find the location for it. But it's like, realistically, where would you build another stadium at?
Yeah, let's see here. So the Dallas Mavericks' new owners are open to building the team in an arena in North Texas, but say it's too soon to know when that might be. Let's see here. Oh, Patrick Dumont. That's who now is buying the shares. Mark Cuban has wanted a new arena for the team for years. Dumont's family is well positioned to make it happen, while also continuing their push to legalize sports betting and gambling in Texas. Let's see here. Does it say where? I remember I saw some articles that were talking about potentially where. They were talking about a certain district in Dallas, like a part of town. Oh, where was it? The Mavs have a lease at the American Airlines Center through 2031, which, if you think about it, it's already 2024, so that's going to quickly come.
You could have a new stadium built, though, in that 7 years.
For sure. Let's see here. Mark Cuban's quoted saying, "My goal, and we partner with Las Vegas Sands, is when we build a new arena, it'll be in the middle of a resort and casino," Mark Cuban told the Dallas Morning News last December. Quote, "That's the mission."
Well, that means, so here's the thing then. You're obviously not going to move. It's the Dallas Mavericks, so you're not going to rename the team, obviously. So what does he know that nobody else knows then? Because if he's like, yeah, we're going to do it with like gambling and casino, like the state of Texas doesn't allow gambling. That's kind of what I'm trying to get at here, is like, how does that work? Because the only place that I could think of where there's a resort going is the Universal Studios that we're supposed to be getting in Frisco. But it wouldn't be that close. It wouldn't be, because then it'd be the Frisco Mavericks. It would be the Dallas Mavericks. Like,
well, you could also make the same argument about the Dallas Cowboys. Where do the Dallas Cowboys play?
Arlington, yeah.
Yeah, they have nothing Dallas related.
That's closer, though, realistically, because Arlington's kind of like, let's be honest, if Arlington...
It's about probably distant. It's halfway between Fort Worth and Dallas.
Yeah, but the thing is, those Arlington splits Dallas County and Tarrant County, though.
Yeah.
Frisco's in Collin County.
Yeah.
A completely different county. It's not split by any kind of county line. So it's like...
If you think most professional sports teams that are named after major cities, there's a lot of them that aren't even based in those cities anymore. Like, think about the New York Jets and Giants. Where do they play? Where's MetLife Stadium? It's in New Jersey, isn't it?
New Jersey, yeah.
What do they call them now? The Washington Commanders?
Yeah.
Don't they play in Maryland? They're not even in D.C. They're like in Maryland.
I thought they were...
Isn't that where FedEx Field is?
Hold on.
FedEx Field. Yeah, Greater Landover, Maryland.
Yeah.
Kansas City Chiefs aren't in Kansas City. It's in a suburb. San Francisco 49ers, they're in Santa Clara. They're not even in San Francisco anymore.
Everything I knew was a lie. A lie.
Well, because taxes and incentives to relocate and...
Okay, here's the thing. They're billionaire corporations and billionaire teams. Okay, they can get over it. Okay, if we got to spend... Here's also, too, what I don't understand. Why do we have to spend our tax dollars? Why do our tax dollars go to fund the stuff that they do to keep them rich and keep money in their pockets, but yet they don't spend their own money to build their own stadiums and to improve their own stadiums and to do all this other kind of stuff, but yet they also don't even want to pay half their players either?
You're not supposed to ask that question.
Oh, I'm asking.
Because you have the age-old scenario where sports franchise owners always say, yeah, bringing a new arena or a new stadium to a town or a city brings so much more money and like business with it, when there are studies that show it doesn't. Like the amount of tax burden. So like whenever the Dallas Cowboys moved from Irving to Arlington to get Jerry's World, now it's AT&T Stadium built.
Yeah.
Arlington, like someone fact checked me on this, I believe, but like they provided massive incentives through special district taxes. So the people that live in Arlington, through their taxes, are partially funding the project of AT&T Stadium at the time. I think they're still probably paying it off in some extent. Whereas Jerry Jones, as the owner of the Cowboys, very well could have funded the entire project as a business like himself. But all these other sports team owners have that same thing. They always come in and they say, oh, this is going to help your community, yada, yada. And yeah, there's probably some benefits there for sure, but it's not like a life-changing experience for a certain city. Like they're not making extra money. Because think about it, most of the time people are spending money, it's the restaurants around the stadium, but it brings more traffic. Like it's not like this lovely thing that helps all of the citizens that live there. I'm sure some people live in towns and then they get upset because their taxes increase. More traffic comes in. It's noisy.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is like, to me, it makes zero sense. And like, don't get me wrong, do I still watch sports occasionally? Am I oh my God, the Dallas Mavericks, the Dallas Cowboys? Not really. Like, I'm not like that anymore. I don't like, I know that every single year as Cowboys fans, this is our year. It's not our year. If by some miracle it is our year, cool. But I think the Cowboys have had their time and they're done. You know, like, I don't think they're going to ever win another Super Bowl again. Just, being honest here. And if I get a lot of hate from other Cowboys fans, I apologize. But hey, listen here, I'm just being real, okay? I'm not, a 50-year-old middle-aged man who still thinks that the Cowboys are the greatest team ever, because they're not. I mean,
we were small children whenever the Cowboys last won a Super Bowl, or even relevant to potential.
I wasn't even alive.
You weren't even alive.
I was just born when they won their last Super Bowl. Like,
see, that's what I'm saying. And they haven't been relevant since. There's a couple of spurts of relevancy, but nowhere near like, oh yeah, they're going to win it this year.
And they're still one of the most popular teams in the world, not even just in our country. They're actually the most popular sports team and sports franchise in the world.
Yeah, their logo is unrivaled. Like the branding and I think it's because of that era. It's still such a popular. They're America's team. Like they really are.
But talking about like upgrades, and we'll continue on here in just a second. But just talking about like the money that's being spent. There's supposed to be, as of last year in December, the Cowboys reportedly started planning up to $295 million in upgrades to AT&T Stadium to get ready for the
the World Cup.
The World Cup, yeah.
Yeah. I saw they're having to rename the stadiums temporarily because FIFA has a rule where you can't have corporate sponsors for like the stadium names. So all the stadiums we're using across the U.S., like AT&T, I think, was it Reliance Stadium or NRG? I forget what Houston has. And then
NRG Stadium.
And then MetLife in New York. Like they're having to rename them. So like AT&T stadiums can become, I think it's like North Texas Stadium or something like that. Very generic names. It'll be like Houston Stadium, New York Stadium, or something like that.
It is what it is. But no, I just hate the fact though that like because all these billionaires are like, hey, we want to do all this stuff and we want to plan all this stuff. You're going to suffer because your tax dollars are now going to go up for something that nobody even asked for. Like, nobody asked for a new stadium. Well, like, if a new Maverick stadium does get built, or like when it does, I feel bad for the people who live in that area because your taxes are going to increase significantly.
Yeah. So just to get back, I'm going to bring this up real quick. So I pulled up, for those that are just in audio land, I pulled up Google Earth, just kind of showing. So like, here's San Angelo right here. It's in between I-20 and I-10. There's already plans. They're going to build like 3 more interstates in Texas, like new interstate highways that are all going to kind of be out in this part of the neck of the woods. So why not just build our own version of Las Vegas out here? Relatively easy access from DFW, Central Texas, San Antonio. I mean, Houston's over here. They can take the trip out. It'll be fine. Heck, build an international airport out there. Do an international airport, all the casinos and resorts. Put a sports team out there. I don't care, but I just don't understand why we can't leverage. I feel like it's just like a no-brainer. Make a special district. And this is the only part of the state you'd be able to do that in. So you don't have to worry about the negative aspects that, casinos can bring. You don't have to worry about, polluting your major metropolitan areas with that. And it doesn't even have to be San Angelo. We can like create a town out here that doesn't even exist yet, I was
gonna say, you have so much like open space, like realistically, like when you think about it, like there's just so much unused and untapped territory in there. Like even for the towns that like, like they're your small towns. Like, and here's my biggest thing, but it's like, you ever drive to like those like very, 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 very small towns that just look utterly like old and destroyed, and like it's got like a population of like 50?
Yeah, I love to drive through those, but it's also depressing at the same time. Like, I know what you mean.
Like, why? And I get that a lot of people probably can't afford to move, things like that, but it's like, you might as well just like merge that small town into like the larger city or something. Like, it just doesn't make sense. I feel like, money wise and financially wise, like it doesn't make sense to leave those towns like that,
Yeah. And I do wonder if like we're going to see the reverse of that happen sometime too, where, rural America, you have the ebbs and flows of people that live in rural America, then they all push into the cities and they all go back to rural, then they all go back in the cities. I do wonder like if in our lifetime we're going to see that push back out to rural America, and not even rural, just like the rebirth of the small towns. But the one factor we have this go around that they haven't had historically is we have so much technology now that currently is reliant on the infrastructure of our major cities. Like in DFW, if you get far enough out there, and I mean like rural, like you get out there, like you're not going to have high-speed internet. You're going to have, you're going to maybe get like, 30 megabytes up and down. Now, who knows? Starlink may become more of a viable option, so you can just get internet from satellites. But like when you're in a city, you can get, I'm going blank on the gig speed, but fiber. You get fiber optic.
Fiber, yeah.
Yeah, it's already in the ground. They're improving that infrastructure, but they're not going to go out to the middle of nowhere and lay fiber optic cable yet.
Yeah,
but
I agree with you though. Like I think. I am far stretched to say that it would be in our lifetime, but I feel like we're already seeing instances where you're seeing people move out of the big cities to rural areas. I mean, I was looking at this article, and Texas is the #1 state that people are relocating to. Not just because of the money that's here and the infrastructure and the jobs that are here. Well, jobs, because, let's be honest here, like people apply to jobs all the time, but yet our unemployment rate is, the highest it's been in, well, I don't even know how long.
Have you seen how they like skew the numbers on that lately? Mm-hmm. If you look at like the charts when they come out with jobs and employment data, they'll always say, yeah, like X amount of jobs were created this last quarter or this last month. Mm-hmm. They kind of skew the numbers a little bit because what happens is, and I can try to pull up a graph real quick. Some of the jobs that get created, they're not full-time jobs. They're part-time jobs. Mm-hmm. So you can skew the numbers by saying, oh yeah, we had 100,000 jobs created, but if 75,000 of them are part-time jobs, like, okay, yeah, that's better than nothing. But if you only have 25,000 full-time jobs being created, that's really not helping too many people, especially if you're seeing, right now we're seeing every tech company lay somebody off. It's just, I think everyone overhired during COVID And now they're realizing, oops, we don't have a budget for this, or oops,
Yeah.
they know something big's coming in the economy, so they're trying to stockpile cash before it's too late. So they're, easing budgets.
And that's one thing I don't like, is because it's like you made a wrong decision, and instead of trying to plan accordingly, you're just like, okay, we're just gonna let these people go, not caring any bit about their welfare and about if they're gonna be able to pay their mortgage, or if they're gonna be able. This is what I'll be like, and there's a lot more that goes into it, but this is why markets crash a lot too, is because they overspend, and then eventually things are going to just have to crash. But instead of planning for it, you're just like, we're going to lay off all these people. And then that's where you're going to have, I have seen in the last like month or two of properties that people have inquired about that are foreclosure properties.
Ooh,
People are,
really? Oh, that's interesting. So
like,
go ahead.
I've seen a few, like not a lot, but there've been a few that I've had some clients inquire about, and I'll go to look at it, and it's a short sale. And so it's like most of them are cash only. Like you're pretty much buying that loan, but you can't really finance it with another loan. So it's like it defeats the purpose. So like they'll sell it to, it'll go into auction or whatever the case may be. But I've been seeing that lately, and I'm not saying that's everybody, but it's like, I don't know, if it's just short, bad luck, but people getting laid off their jobs goes into that. It's like you're taking people's livelihoods from them. And then you're just like, okay, well, we don't care. It's like, okay, cool. You get to still live in your $500,000 house plus, because you are the owner of this big company, but yet you don't want to pay your employees that you have the money to pay.
Have you ever seen the movie The Big Short? It's also a book, but
yes.
it's about the 2008 housing market collapse.
Yeah. I was trying to think of who was in it though, but
it was Steve Carell. What's his name? Wow, I'm going blank. The guy that played Batman in Christopher Nolan's Batman. What is his name?
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale. Thank you, Christian Bale. It had Ryan Gosling, right?
Yeah. Ryan Gosling, Brad Pitt, Jeremy Strong.
Yeah, it's just interesting because like, I know like you only see a small segment of like the national like housing market, but I'm curious, like if you are seeing more foreclosures, even if just a little bit, it's like, okay, it starts as a small drip and then the dam breaks at some point.
Yeah. Now, I don't think I am going off the record for anyone who listens to this, because as a realtor, I only know what I research in that moment. But
we are officially off the record. This is an off the record moment.
It's an off the record moment. I don't think we're going to have a housing market crash like 2008. I don't think our infrastructure, because we had COVID. I mean, that did in a lot of people as it was already. Now, with all the stimulus checks and stuff that went out, that people are like, oh my God, free money. It's not free money. We're paying for it currently with the inflation that's happening. I don't think we're going to have a huge crash like we did in 2008. I don't think it'll be as massive. But do I think something will happen? It won't be this year, and it probably will not be next year. It will probably be around 2026, I would guesstimate, if we do, because we're still in the midst of inflation. The Fed was like, hey, we're going to lower rates, and I believe from some of the people I've talked with in our brokerage that this is going to be the year of the fives. Rates will go back into the fives this year. That's interesting.
Because, and we've talked, I don't think they're coming down this year at all.
A lot of like the real estate gurus that I've watched and some other people who do like coaching and stuff like that I've listened to, what they're speculating is that this is going to be the year of the fives, that by quarter four, if not, like I wouldn't say sooner, but probably by the end of quarter three, beginning of quarter four, we're probably going to see interest rates back in the fives.
Well, there's only, as of today, May 5th, the Fed said at most there will be one rate cut. And that would probably be 1/4 of a basis point. So.
And this was again that's what they said this week. But I'm also going back like 2 or 3 months ago when they made their first cut, and they're like, okay, we're going to make like 4 more cuts this year, and that's what's going to happen. But then I don't know, I don't remember his name, but one of the guys was like, "No, we're just gonna raise it," and like, or he's like, "Yeah, we're not gonna do any more cuts," and now it's back up to I think 7.4% is
Yeah.
what they were like last week. And again, for anyone who's listening, like, do your research, like I do my research, but there's also so much that I look at in that moment, and so much changes it's like so quickly that I can't keep up with every little bit of information that's going on out there. So like, thankfully, I have other people that I work around that also do that as well. But that's just kind of where we're at with everything. If this is going to be the year of the fives, we need to have at least like the 3 to 4 more rate cuts to meet that. But because inflation has gotten so bad and gas prices haven't even come down below $3, I don't remember the last time. I don't even gas was below $3 a gallon. Do you?
I think it was during COVID, wasn't it? I remember it was like stupid cheap during COVID because nobody was buying gas, and so they could price it at really whatever you think it could be.
Yeah.
One thing, let me show you this. Came across this the other day. I'm gonna share my screen.
But I don't know. Again, when it comes to the real estate market, we just speculate. We don't give hard facts until we actually hear stuff about it. And if, take it however you want, but that's just I don't think it'll be, if we do have a crash, it won't be for a while. Like, we're not going to feel any of the repercussions until like a couple more years down the line.
I think what's going to happen, I think the economy as a whole, not exclusive to the housing market, I think it's already collapsed in a sense. Like, I think all the conditions are there for it to have a complete meltdown, but the powers that be are trying to hold it together just long enough to let the election cycle get finished, put a new guy in office. Maybe it's a guy that's been there before. We'll see. And then let it collapse, because then you'll be able to point the finger and say, look who caused this. This is their fault. This happened. Like, it didn't happen on our watch. It happened on their watch. Similar to how Obama adopted failing economy whenever he walked into office, but it was also because of decisions before that administration happened.
I was about to say, like, that's how it always falls. Is it's usually the decisions in the administration before the next presidency. But there are some cases where that's not the full case, because there were going to be certain things that are going to be implemented in certain presidencies that never get implemented until the next presidency. But then that next president's like, no, we're 86ing that. We're not doing that anymore. And then they just completely do a 180 and flip the script on everybody.
Yeah.
Again, I kind of agree with you, though. Like, I feel that the power, like you said, the powers that be are trying to hold it together right now, and they're not telling anybody anything. And we can only wait and see what's going to happen after November, realistically. So
yeah. So what I put up on the screen here, it's a graph showing the monthly costs to buy a house, basically the monthly mortgage payment, the average of it. And so we're in this like weird storm right now. For those listening, like, you're probably well aware of this here if you're even relatively aware of the housing market. The cost of housing continues to increase. Now, this also depends on what market you're in, but the price of housing is still crazy high. Rates continue to increase. So usually when rates increase, you expect the price to decrease to match that, but we haven't hit that breaking point yet. So what's really wild is like just the drastic rise in this graph, showing how if you go all the way back to, let's use 2030, or let's go a little further back. Let's use like 1998 as an example. Before the dot-com bubble, it was about between $840 to right around $1,000, right at the clips of the dot-com bubble, of a monthly payment of buying a house. Whereas if we go between 2013, that was $966. And if we go to present day, we're sitting at about $2,700. And it doesn't look like it's going to cool down anytime soon. But if it does cool down, I mean, it looks like a roller coaster, to where you're at the tippy top of like the Texas giant roller coaster of Six Flags. And when you look over the edge, you're like, well, this is either going to be the best or the worst decision I've ever made in my life. So, yeah.
I actually, looking at that graph now, again, in my profession, we can only speculate what's going to happen and everything. But when you look at history, and I've said this before, and I say this on a lot of stuff, that like when you really look at things, history repeats itself. And usually when it repeats itself, it's almost as bad, if not worse, than the history that it's repeating of. And if you look at 2006 and you see that bubble that's there, and then all of a sudden you see that huge crash from 2008 all the way going into 13, and technically, kind of going upwards into 2018. But yet we're at that peak where it's over twice as high as what it was, in those times. So it's like something's going to have to give at some point. But at this point, when it comes to houses, like, again, if you can buy, I'm just going to say that. But when it comes to tax dollars, when it comes to things that are being spent, like when it comes to just how everything's going now as far as inflation, our infrastructure, like our infrastructure as a whole, I don't know where they keep getting money. Like, cause we briefly actually talked about this earlier, but not before the podcast. But and I've seen people post about this too. But it's like, why do we have to pay taxes and then pay taxes on the things that we buy, and then our money at the end of the year is also taxed, and then it's just a never-ending cycle. But then the government's like, oh, we don't have enough money. But then you see that they just sent, $70 billion to another country and not helping their own people. Meanwhile, they're going to give $700 per family for all the families that lost their homes over in Hawaii. Like, to me, it's like you got to figure out your priorities somewhere and figure out where your loyalties lie. I don't want to, and I hate saying the word loyalty but let's be honest here, our government has not been loyal to its people for, as far back, probably further back than before I was born. And it just seems like it's not getting any better, like they're going to keep spending money, then they're going to say we don't have money, but realistically you can keep printing money. I don't think the value of anything is going to go down. The value is what you perceive the value of it as, just because you put a number on it. Like, you can constantly keep printing money, and I think everything would be perfectly fine.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. And one thing that you made a good point. Let me make a follow-up to that point. It always baffles me, and I know the answer to this scenario, and I hate that I know the answer to it, but it baffles me that why can't we take care of our own backyard before going to take care of someone else's yard, Like, I know the answer to that question, and it's a very dark and dumb answer, but I don't understand. We have enough money to take care of our own people first before we take care of somebody else's, but that's besides the point. The other thing that kind of terrifies me with, if you take like just the housing market as a whole, I could even foresee a scenario where it doesn't cool off. Like, it keeps going. And the reason I say that is, so I just pulled up a graph here for those listening. It's a graph of the M1. So like the letter M is in Michael, the M1 money supply. And basically what M1 is, you have M1 and you have M2. M1 is all of the money in circulation that can be spent. So maybe it's in your checking account, maybe it's cash in your wallet, maybe it's crypto, maybe it's like liquid money basically that's not stored away where it can't be spent. If we look at this graph, like, of course there's always going to be more money in supply, like as the years progress, because you just have natural inflation, things get printed. The whole joke about how we have a money printer and the money printer goes burr. But in this, you can see like in 2020, there was a massive spike where in December 2019, there was, and this is all in billions, by the way. So there was, $4 billion in circulation. But then by the time we get to May 2020, there was 16 billion. And then by the time we get to like May 2022, we had 20 billion out there. It's just actually, wait, hang on. No, this is trillions. So 20 trillion.
Are you sure? It says billions on the side.
It says billions, but if you look at the actual number itself.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is from the St. Louis Fed. So this is like from the actual Federal Reserve themselves. So you can just see how much money, and this is all that federal stimulus that was printed, whether it be going to individuals, going to corporations throughout 2020. So that being said, there's been more money printed in the last 3 years now, actually 4 years now, because it's 2024. There's been more money printed in the last 4 years than there were all the other years combined. So that money has to go somewhere, right? And so that's what makes me worried that we're not going to see a decrease in prices, whether it be in real estate assets, consumer assets, things like that, because there's just more money to go around. Does that make sense?
I actually can agree with that because, you know, I I talk to people, like, granted, like, everything has to kind of fall into place, but it's like, I think it's going to get to a point where, and I think the average income now, like for a dual household income to afford, like, I think it's a $350,000 house, you have to make $120,000 annually,
Yeah.
like combined income. So if we kept going on this trend, I don't know exactly what the pricing of a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house would be realistically, but if this was the case, then you would probably have to make, closer to like that $160,000 to $180,000 range just to afford a house. And there's even areas that are like, you pay more for a tiny studio apartment than what you do here in Denton. Like New York City, like you pay like $3,000 a month for just something tiny, you know? So it's like, for them, I can't imagine what they go through, but for us, I mean, it's gonna get. I feel like it's gonna get worse. I do, um, but it's just, and a lot of it boils down to also, it's just like there are some things that we know. I know people are like, oh, we don't know what happened with this or this event or this, like let's just say COVID for example. We know what happened with COVID. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, it's like an unspoken reality. Everybody, not everybody, but most people know what happened.
Nobody wants to acknowledge it because they don't want to be like, they stood their ground for that entire time during 2020, 2021. That now they're like, now they realize and they know, but they're like, oh, okay, well, we'll keep the status quo what it is. But because our government could not plan accordingly, you wasted so much money developing a vaccine that honestly doesn't even work on people at all. And then continuing on, all the world events that are currently happening now that you're spending all these billions of dollars on, but then your own people are suffering right now. And there's a lot of other stuff I can get into when it comes to like things that our government's doing that's sketch, let's be honest. But when it comes to not helping your own people and you only care about the 1% of people in this country, like, that there's definitely some soul searching that needs to be done. And I was reading an article, I think, and they were talking about how like there just needs to be a huge overhaul shift in our Senate and our House. Like get out all the older people, get out all the people who think the way that they do. Like some serious digging needs to be done, and digging without the disappearing act at the end of the fourth act, so to speak. But there's just, as far as our infrastructure goes, like even on a city level, like I feel like so much money is wasted on things that we just don't need. And not only that though, but our money is wasted taking time to repair roads that don't even actually get fixed after you repair them. And you have to keep repairing them and keep spending money to repair them. And it's like you're wasting tax dollars. Just do it right. Like,
So this is exactly why, going back to my original point, we need to build a Texas version of Las Vegas out in the middle of West Texas. I see no issues, no red flags at all with this plan. We need to go full steam ahead because clearly there's a bunch of money out there to be played around with. So why not have fun with it? Why not outdo Las Vegas at their own game? I think it's a no-brainer.
We need to start working on that plan then. We can get some investors, some high profile investors, and we take it before, our state government, including Hot Wheels himself. And we present this idea to them and we just say, hey, like, this is what's up. This is what we feel could be good for our state. And realistically, if our state does, as we talked about in our very first episode, if Texas was to secede from the U.S., like if that was just to happen, that would be another amenity that would bring people to this state, that we could make a revenue from. So
no, that's a good point. That's a valid point. One other thing I just came across when I was just kind of scrolling X, or the artist formerly known as Twitter, I saw that Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett's holding company, is starting to stockpile a lot of cash They've always had a lot of cash, but it also makes you start to wonder, like, why are they starting to stockpile cash? Because the age old saying, and I'm trying to remember if Warren Buffett said this himself, but you always want to have a lot of cash on hand whenever the economy starts to collapse or when it takes a nosedive, because you want to be able to take advantage of a fire sale. Like, you want to have money to play with whenever others have to sell what they have, like stocks and shares and things like that.
Yeah.
So this is talking about how it says just in. This is from today, actually. So just in, Berkshire Hathaway's cash pile reached a new all-time high of $189 billion in Q1 of 2024. This is a $19 billion increase from their cash balance seen in Q4 of 2023 and a 70% increase in cash since 2022. To put this in perspective, Berkshire Hathaway's cash balance is larger than the market cap of Starbucks and Target combined. When asked about this, Warren Buffett said, quote, "I don't mind at all, given current conditions, building our cash position." Why is Buffett holding so much cash? That's from the Kobe EC letter. So, makes you wonder, what does Berkshire Hathaway know that we don't know?
I don't know, but I need to go work for them, though, and be like, yo, I'll sign a 5-year contract, and I'll do whatever you need me to do. But you got to pay me.
Have you looked at the companies that, like, Warren Buffett / Berkshire Hathaway own? It's a pretty wild list. Like, they own Geico.
Let's find out.
Yeah, I know you're Googling it right now.
Yeah. Let's see here. Companies. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Acme Brick. These are just a few that I'm going to list off. Acme Brick. Let's see here. Energy Company, Homestead. Let's see here. I'm trying to find some more well-known ones that people know. Duracell. Fruit of the Loom Companies. Geico, there it is. Hellsberg Diamond. Dairy Queen. Let's see here. Kraft Heinz.
But, like, a lot of names, though.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a lot, and there's some of them that I didn't even know that they owned either. But that's insane, though. Like,
they own Pilot Flying J. You know those gas stations you always see on the interstate, the big ones.
Yeah,
they own 100% of that.
My gosh, and his net worth is $132.7 billion.
Yeah, Nebraska Furniture Mart. Pampered Chef.
Yeah, that's insane. But, like, I mean, it does beg the question, like, what does he know that we don't know? But the thing is when you have that much money, you obviously know more stuff than the average person, because they're not going to put everything out there on the internet. No matter how far you search, you're only going to know so much compared to what the people that are in that room know. And let's be honest, if he knows, there's definitely other billionaires and millionaires out there that know the exact same thing that he knows.
So, yeah, I also think he's been around long enough. I think he's very good at reading the room. He understands. He's very good at picking up on trends before you even realize it's a trend, you know?
Well, I mean, he was born in 1930. When did the Great Depression was 1932, right?
Yeah, it was the 30s.
Yeah, so I mean, like, even from that young of age, I mean, like, he probably didn't know what was going on, but he's gone through the heavy ups and downs throughout his life to know and to study that and to understand that. And I mean, that's definitely insane as to how he went to business school in Columbia, but he only year, because back then you could go for a year and you got a bachelor's degree. So
yeah,
and it cost you $500. So
yeah, no, he's an interesting dude. He's a very simple man. He's from Omaha, Nebraska, still lives there. It's a very simple man.
Yeah,
in a good way.
But yeah, I think overall, though, I mean, I think a lot of where our country went wrong as far as, like, how money is handled is there were some people, a lot of people who didn't know how to handle money that they let in there, and there were some people who knew too well how to handle money that they let into the government. And so, like, if you know how to handle money, you can game the system. If you don't know how to handle money, then well, you're just going to waste your people's tax dollars. Like there's definitely an upside and a downside to each side, but I still am on my stance where it's just like I think we need people who probably around, I wouldn't say our age exactly, but maybe like 35 to 40, give or take. Like we need younger people in there that are also dealing with the same real world problems that we're dealing with, that have the solutions to deal with what needs to be dealt with. But unfortunately, to become any kind of political figure, you got to have a lot of money and a lot of, support and backs and things like that. So
very well said. I think that's a good place to end it, because I don't want to overshadow what you just said there. I'm trying to think of, for those listening, if you made it to this part of the episode, first of all, thank you. Appreciate you. Depending on where you're watching or listening, give us a like, give us a follow, a subscribe, give us a comment. Let us know, what do we want them to know? I'm trying to think. I didn't think of a question before this or a scenario. Do you agree with my thought that Texas should recreate Las Vegas and outdo the actual Las Vegas? I don't know. Do you have anything you want to siphon from those listening?
I mean, I would love to hear some people's comments and thoughts about like just overall, like, do you think our market and inflation is just going to continue rising? Do you think we're actually on the brink of having a potential repeat of 2008? Or, what are your thoughts on that?
What's wild is, for those listening, I'll give you a breadcrumb. Look at the debt notes on commercial real estate that are coming due in 2025, and that'll tell you all you need to know about the commercial real estate crisis that's starting to crack. So, but with that, that's all I got.